asking the questions mainstream journalists will never ask. This is your Richie Allen Show on richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, and triggerwarning.tv.
Right, welcome back to the programme. We do have a caller. Let's get straight into the calls. Caller, welcome to the show. Good evening. Who are you and where are you calling from?
The name's Adrian, calling from London. How you doing, Richie?
I'm really well, mate. Did you say Aiklin?
No, Adrian. As in
oh, excuse
Adrian
me. Adrian, nice to hear from you, my friend. The floor is yours. What have you got to say?
Okay, firstly, just want to big you up because you do an amazing job. And I'm just going to throw just one thing at you, okay? And that is, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah,
okay?
Go ahead.
All right, so given what you say about certain undesirables in positions of power and the light that you shine in their direction, and what they are potentially capable of in terms of people shining the light on them, are you ever worried about somebody doing something less than Christian to you, like, physical harm, bumping you off, etc.?
No, Adrian, no, because I'm a nobody. The program is a platform for people that actually do real research. I'm not important, and I'm not being modest here. I never worry about that. You know what, Adrian? If somebody wants to do you harm, there's nothing very much you can do about it, really. I mean, people say things from time to time, but I think it's a lot of hot air. I think there are a lot of bigger targets for people. There's some very good people doing some very good work who might be a bit nervous. They might look over their shoulder. But to answer, quickly, I'm not, mate. I don't worry about stuff like that. Okay.
I mean, that's. I don't know. I mean, great. I mean, I suppose that's the way to do it. What do they say? Tell the truth and let the heavens fall and all that sort of stuff. I just, like you report on just recently, Alison Chablow. Chablow is her name?
Yeah, Chablow, yeah.
That's right. And she, obviously, the hot water that she's got into for essentially speaking her mind. And there's a good example of somebody who's basically using her free speech, calling it as she sees it, not doing any harm to anybody, but she is where she is, and time will tell exactly what sort of price she's got to pay. Now, that's at the mild end of things. Obviously, we hear about, the first thing that comes to mind is doctors who are, and physicians who are basically voicing out against vaccinations and all the rest of it, mysteriously dying in mysterious circumstances. Obviously, that's the sharp end of it. Now, you may just be a platform, but you're one of a few platforms because obviously the main thrust of any media that we've got out there just are completely either blind or just scared shitless to actually say exactly what's going on. But your platform does, along with David Icke and et cetera, and a whole load of other people. So that's why I ask, because again, playing devil's advocate, I think one of the things that will happen in the very near future, I think doing programs like this is going to become more difficult, I think. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, and the reach. It's one thing for me to be here in my house doing this and streaming it, which I am doing. But I think there are going to be barriers put in place, not necessarily to prevent me streaming it, but to prevent maybe listeners accessing that stream. Now, it wouldn't be me they would be going after. They would be going after anybody who's got, an independent alternative news type platform. And in fact, somebody sent me a tweet today, Adrian, that I didn't get to read it, but it's about European Union planned legislation, some sort of communications act that they want to roll out across Europe, and it's to do with fake news. And I think I would worry about that. In fact, to be honest with you, I do worry about that. I worry about the official communications act, the Ofcom, which is the regulatory body here. I do worry about them deciding that they've had enough of the independence. So I don't know, but I wouldn't worry about being physically attacked or assaulted, but I would worry about the program being maybe bumped off, for want of a better word.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not wishing that on you, Richard.
No, I know that. I know it's an interesting point.
Again, playing devil's advocate, okay? Because obviously, whenever you get somebody on the show that, let's say, you find their views repugnant, you'd always give them the right reply. And I'm just throwing this out there. What do you say to people that say, you're effectively controlled opposition to what's going on?
I suppose people always will say that. It's an interesting thing. I mean, if you look at the comments today underneath, and I don't usually look at the comments under the piece I did about the jailing of Tommy Robinson, which I take no pleasure in anybody being jailed, particularly for non-violent crimes. We've entered this kind of reality where people have become so insular, so wrapped up in themselves, that if anybody disagrees with them or says anything they don't like, their easy get out of jail card is, oh, well, you're a shill or you're controlled opposition. Now, nobody controls me. I took the decision to take the programme away from David's website, where I was honoured to be for a long time, because maybe there was a feeling that I wasn't entirely independent, and maybe there was a feeling that the programme was really an extension of David's website, which wasn't true. My opinions are mine alone. They're not influenced by anybody else. And so when people say, it's controlled opposition, I don't really pay much attention to that, Adrian, you know.
I'll tell you what, mate, because I know you're not, you're not, as you say, you're a spiritual guy, but not, sort of conventionally religious. But, I've got to be honest with you, dude. I mean, if it was me doing that program, I'd be again, I'm not wishing this on you because I love what you do, but a part of me would be looking over my shoulder the whole time, because knowing, I mean, if we look at what's going on in Yemen and what's going on in Syria, not that we need reminding, we know that humans are capable of amazing stuff, just amazing stuff, but they're also capable, and you can throw Palestine in there, of the most darkest things that anyone can dream of in their nightmares. And that's why I ask, because you seem to shine the light and poke the stick in places where, unfortunately, what we call our commercial, not mainstream, commercial media will never go.
Well, not to be at all modest, I was inspired again by people that we've mentioned that have, put themselves in pretty bad spots to highlight stuff. And I thought the opportunity to just add another platform for that would be a great thing. But I want to thank you, Adrian. A lot of people are trying to get through, mate. So
before I go, Richard,
as quick as you can, mate, if you don't mind. Go ahead.
I've actually emailed you a couple of times. I know you're a one-man band, incredibly busy. Now, I've asked you for a postal address for postal order donations, which I've never received a reply to. I've even gone to the lengths of asking David Icke to contact you.
Well, I never would have ignored that, so I just haven't seen that. But go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, what I'd like you to do, if it's possible, on your Twitter feed, if you do accept postal order donations, because some of us don't like you to use bank accounts and credit cards, if you can post an address that people like myself can send a donation to in the form of a postal order, that would be helpful. You're
very kind. Let me look into doing that. I'm sure I can organise something like that and do it. Adrian, thanks, mate.
All right, take care.
Lovely to hear from you. Thanks for that. That was really nice. Adrian there, whom I think by that number is in London or near London. Let me give you the contact details. While we wait for another call to come through, let me give you the contact details. Should know them by heart now. If you're calling me from inside the country, it's 0161 818 2018. 0161 818 2018. If you're calling from outside the country, it's +44 161 818 2018. But you can Skype chat with Richie. That's free. Skype chat with Richie. It's all one word, chat with Richie. If there's anything you want to say, it can be about any of the news stories this week. It can be about the Italian thing, the European Union, Roseanne Barr, racism. It can be anything you want to talk about. Give me a shout, and I look forward to hearing from you. Let me get Daniel on the line there. Daniel asked me to come in next, and I'm going to try and move it along swiftly, if you don't mind there. I gave Adrian a lot of time there, but a lot of calls were coming in. I would urge those people to be patient. I will get to you between now and the top of the programme. Daniel, how are you? It's been a while, mate. Welcome back. How are you?
Nice. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Good to hear from you, mate. What would you like to throw out there?
I just want to add a little kind of
caveat,
yeah, to what was just said. when the guy was talking about, are you afraid of being taken out? Well, I mean, it depends how you see reality. Some people see reality as a solid, physical, real world, in which case there's every chance that someone could be taken out. But when you see it, and this isn't what I've come on to talk about, but I just thought it was worth saying, if you see it as a holographic illusion, which quantum physics can prove that it is, and more and more mainstream scientists are saying that, then our perceptions dictate our experience. So if you perceive that you are going to be taken out, then there's a very good chance that will happen.
You might do, yeah.
Yeah, but if you can reach a certain level of frequency, and all that is just a self-identity from I am this person with this body, and I am my body, and therefore if my body is killed, or this happens or that happens, then that's me. So I should watch myself. But if you perceive that your consciousness having an experience, and therefore you are in charge of your experience, because it's only a holographic illusion anyway, then the more that you self-identify with that, the more you reach the more your frequency increases, because it has to, because you're not the same energetically, energy field wise. So your frequency changes, and as it does, you start to have more and more control and power over your own experience. And then when you reach
I go along with that, Daniel. I go along with that.
Yeah, when you reach a certain level of frequency, you know that you're protected. It's hard to explain, but you just know that you're. And also, some people come into this reality specifically to make a difference. So they will have what we call protection. It's just inner energy field that they're encoded in their energy field that it will not attract certain experiences. But you can call it protection, because it might play out like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, while you came on to, I did just mention to you there, I'm going to move things on swiftly. So crack on, my friend. What did you want to say?
I want to say that labels. And what I mean by that is if someone was talking about me, for example, and they're saying that I'm looking at something to do with Agenda 21 or transhumanism, for example. Now, if they say to someone else, say they saw me reading a book or something, for example, and they said, "Oh, what's that about?" And they said, "Oh, he's reading about David Icke, or oh, he's reading about conspiracy," then this person, that's going to put them off straight away. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Seen it before, in fact.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, we all know that. But imagine if the person said to this other person, "Oh, he's reading about Agenda 21. He's reading about transhumanism." Now, they don't know what those things are. So now you've intrigued them. Now you've got an entry point. Now they say, "Oh, what's that? I've never heard of that before." And now you can tell them. Or me, the me in this example. I can tell them, "Oh, well, actually, it's this."
And leave the conspiracy theorist or the conspiracy theory out of it.
Yeah. Because I mean, if we were talking about what's he reading about, or what's it about football, you don't, just say what it is. You don't need to add any more. He's reading about football. He's reading about music. He's reading about Agenda 21. It's the same thing, same principle. And because now you've got an interest, and also.
Yeah, you might be reading The Perception and Deception by somebody like David Icke, and somebody might say, "What are you reading about?" If you say David Icke, yeah, of course, barriers go up straight away. But if you say, "Well, I'm actually reading about symbolism, or I'm reading about the planets, and I'm reading about Saturn and stuff like that," yeah, I see where you're coming from, Daniel. Yeah. It's interesting.
And also, and also say you post something very interesting and detailed and fact-checked on Facebook. That's the most important thing, fact-checked. And it might be very interesting to read, but if someone says, "Oh, what did he post on Facebook?" "Oh, he posted something about David Icke." Well, it actually wasn't about David Icke at all. But this is what I've experienced. People have said, "Oh, he's posted," but I'm not. I'm posting about smart meters, for example.
Yeah.
Or chemtrails, or Zionism, or whatever it is,
But the label eventually gets fixed, and it gets fixed hard, doesn't it? Because you then become known as Daniel. And when I was on Facebook, I was connected to you, And of course, I'm delighted to be connected here, and I'm always interested in seeing something that you've come across because we have the same interests. But for everybody else, you very quickly get that label. Oh, it's Daniel. Daniel, yeah. Daniel posts about Jordan Maxwell and David Icke. Yeah. That's the way it goes, you see. I don't think you can avoid it.
No.
Not on social media anyway, right?
But the reason, really the thing I wanted to say was that if people, and of course a lot of people listen to this show are in my position, but if other people would just, instead of saying, oh, it's David Icke, or oh, it's this, or it's that, actually say, no, it's about Agenda 21, or it's transhumanism, or it's smart meters, or it's Zionism, you know.
Or the new 5G or whatever. It might be relevant because it might be something in the news, yeah. It's good, mate.
People won't know what a lot of those things are. So you've got them interested. I mean, think about it. Transhumanism, I mean, that could be the name of a film.
It could be anything. Yeah. If you've not heard of it before, it could be absolutely anything. That's right.
So they'll be interested. And then you've got an entry point.
If you've got a comment on that, if you're listening to Daniel there and you got a comment on that, basically he's talking about explaining that information to people who might make a comment or a question, not explaining who it is, but rather what it is and what the subject is. Do get in touch through the regular channels. But I'm going to move it on. Good to hear from you again, by the way. Thanks for that. And I look forward to seeing you again next time you're up this neck of the woods, by the way. Daniel is in Bristol.
Thanks for listening and subscribing to pay-per-view as well.
Oh, pay-per-view. Oh, yes. You should remind me when you post that, by the way. I often don't see it, so I can retweet it. Daniel makes a podcast. It's at podomatic.com. It's called Pay-Per-View. And it's paper, P-A-P-E-R, paper, as in paper, view. And it's worth listening to. Check it out. Cheers, mate.
Okay, fine.
Thanks, Daniel. Bye for now. Right, let's take another call. I don't know who this is. We're connected on Skype, but I don't know who it is. Caller, welcome to the programme.
Hello, Richie.
Hello, who's this?
It's Jonathan Rainey here again.
Jonathan, how are you? Nice to hear from you. It's been a while. Jonathan, just before you say anything, just let me give out the contact details there again very quickly, and then we'll have a natter. Right, folks, if you want to talk about anything, it can be about anything. It can be about events of the recent week, events of recent days, I should say, or anything else. Get in touch, 0161818 2018. That is in the UK. +44 161 818 2018. If you're calling from outside the country, my Skype handle is Chat with Richie. It's very simple, all one word, Chat with Richie. Jonathan, sorry about that. Go ahead, my friend. Floor is yours.
Well, I'm on the show today because I've seen a lot of things going on, and I've been particularly surprised by the way things are going forward in terms of tyranny over the last few days. And it's quite interesting that yourself and your callers have been talking about how we're often fearful to speak out because we perhaps might have something happen to us. And it's been interesting that that I've seen a few things which are not mentioned even in the alternative independent media at all. I mean, I've had certainly experiences happen to me over, actually my years, whereby I talk about, particularly on my own blogs, about why the Scottish authorities can't seem to tackle environmental problems such as dog fouling or littering or fly tipping. And through my research onto my own website, it soon transpires that I do link the research of what the laws are to perhaps even directly to the European Union. And it's quite amazing how so many people, when I do try to speak out about this, because primarily it's no surprise that the place that I live in is kind of pro-EU. People just don't want to talk about how exactly the European Union works, except mainly for a councillor in East Ayrshire who runs a party ironically called the Rubbish Party, which she actually agrees that even if what I say in the recommendations for how things should go is that we the people should take back control if we have to maybe deal with those who do blight our communities, even if our economies are in decline.
Now, Jonathan, this is very interesting now. Let's just talk about fly tipping for a second, right? I'm glad you brought this up. This is why I love the phone-ins, because they go anywhere and everywhere. This is really good. We've an epidemic in South Manchester of fly tipping. We've a genuine epidemic here. Why do we have an epidemic? Well, because the council, in its wisdom, decided to make refuse collection a fortnightly thing. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's not in every local authority in England, but it is in Manchester. But they went worse. They did one thing. They went one step further, Jonathan. They reduced the size of the bin. This is the black bin. For our overseas listener, we have 3 bins. We have a black bin for household waste. We have a green bin for recycling food and garden waste and stuff like that. And we have a brown bin for bottles and aluminium cans and all that sort of stuff, right? But they only get collected every 2 weeks. By reducing the size of the bin down to nothing, Jonathan, they have put pressure on people. And I speak to families in this city, in my quarter of the city, not that it's mine, and they are absolutely terrified. And many families find there's only me and Caroline, and we struggle with it, to be honest. We have families with 2, 3, 4 children, and they can't put all the stuff in the bins, and the council won't take it away. What do you think they do with it then?
Well, I think what would then happen if people were unable, where councils decided to cut recycling centres. Luckily, in the area where I live in Western Bartonshire, the recycling centres are still open. We still have good bin collections underway, although we've still had problems lately with, believe it or not, the grass not being cut in Western Bartonshire.
And here, Jonathan, we've had it here as well in public areas. We've had problems with that as well, ironically. Go ahead.
And what I explain in the article as well, I mean, I really feel ashamed that even in other places in England, not just Manchester, I mean, I've been to Didcot last year in England, and I was quite amazed myself that the bins were even shorter than the ones in Western Bartonshire. But what I go into detail in of this act is when genuine criminals do cause fly tipping. And I did actually speak to 2 litter patrol officers in my own county, and they admitted that even if they did want have hard evidence of wanting to prosecute those who are caught fly tipping, even with the evidence of whether it be the registration plates of whether it be trucks or the vans that they use, then what happens is they pass the case on to then decide whether things go forward or not. And what they've learned is that for every...
Right, you're just breaking up there, Jonathan. I'm losing you there.
If they catch somebody littering or dog filling, that's an £80 fine in the area where I live in. And it costs them £250 to actually do so.
But you see, council, you did break up a bit there, Jonathan, for a second there. I was trying to let you know you were breaking up a bit. But I got the gist of that. But you mentioned the word tyranny. It's a tyranny. If councils have information with respect to what we'd call commercial fly tipping, and they have that information, they have CCTV footage, they have registration plates and all of that, it's absolutely unacceptable, it's tyrannical, and it should bring down that council. It should bring them down if they don't pursue those businesses and charge them for it. In an era when people are getting fined £60 for accidentally straying into a bus lane, in an era when people are being fined for everything, you know, in an era when, as we talked about, they're reducing the size of people's bins and driving people crazy. It's crazy. It's a lunatic asylum, Jonathan. But what do you do about it? Civil disobedience.
That's the whole thing about the EU as well, because I was going to tell as well that apparently much of the alternative and independent media, as well as the mainstream media, is not commenting on the fact that it's thanks to another user by the name of Computing Forever, is an Irish user, and he's been commenting lately about how the European Union, particularly the European Parliament, is due to vote on June the 20th and the 21st, whereby there's going to be a law regarding copyright, whereby there's going to be a link tax involved, whereby it's not just political content that's going to be criminalised, but also non-political content.
This is sharing information. You're talking about sharing information, right? I'm just going to say you're breaking up a lot there, Jonathan, but you're talking about they're going to vote on introducing legislation across the Eurozone about copyright, which is to do with basically people sharing information on social media, sharing it on their own websites, often by way of commenting on it, often by way of right of reply. That's what you're talking about. They're going to basically criminalise taking articles or opinion pieces or videos from other agencies and using them to make your own point. That's what it is, right?
Yep.
Effectively. It's tyrannical in the extreme. And that vote is in June, you're telling me?
Yep, it's on June the 20th.
I didn't know that.
And 21st. And there's already a petition going about, thanks to Computing Forever, whereby there's a petition called saveyourinternet.eu, where people can contact their MEP, and there will need to actually be a lot of loud voices as a result of all this, just like how the GDPR.
Well, let's see, Jonathan. Let's see if we can in the next week. Let's see if we can raise a bit of awareness of this. I'm sure I know some people, some MEPs that are opposed to this, members of the European Parliament, and I'll get onto that link. Do me a favour, when because I'm going to move on now because there are other callers trying to get through. But when we part company, text me on Skype that link to that website, and we'll try and raise awareness of this because it's a huge issue. It's a massive issue.
Yep, you're fine, Richie.
Cheers, mate. Jonathan, really good to hear from you. Thanks for bringing that up. Brilliant stuff, mate. Thank you. Great call. Great call from Jonathan there. That's right, yeah. They're going to try and outlaw using material to basically prove a point, to basically highlight corruption, highlight bad law, highlight criminality. They're going to say you can't, as a private citizen, you can't link to material. Maybe you might be linking to a story in the Daily Mail, you might be linking to a story in the Financial Times, you might be linking to a video. You can't do that. It's not yours. You could be fined for it. Incredibly, that's a fact. 24 minutes past the hour. This is Wednesday's Richie Allen Show. We're live on Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, TuneIn Radio, triggerwarning.tv, and of course my own website, richieallen.co.uk. A couple of interesting articles over the last 2 days there. One about reporting on ongoing trials and reporting restrictions, obviously relates to the Tommy Robinson thing, and there's an article there about Roseanne Barr and racism today as well. Just give you the contact details again very quickly, then I'll take a break and then I'll take more calls. You can get me at 0161 818 2018. 0161 818 2018. The Skype line to the programme is Chat with Richie. If you're on Skype, call me for free. All one word, Chat with Richie. There's no T in Richie, not how I spell it. Anyway, if you're calling from outside the country, it's very simple. It's +44 161 818 2018. I've already tweeted the meme a couple of times. It's on Twitter and it's on the Facebook page as well for The Richie Allen Show.
Have you lost access to important data from a computer hard drive, mobile phone, or other storage device? Maybe you have a broken hard drive containing years of information, or a smartphone that no longer works from which you'd like the pictures, movies, and chats recovered. If you would like to recover data from any type of digital device, including desktop and laptop computers, external hard drives, cameras, smartphones, NAS, and RAID servers, then contact Data Clinic today at dataclinic.co.uk now.
There's a place high in the mountains of Spain, a sanctuary where souls gather from all around the globe to learn about themselves and experience powerful changes in the way we see our world. They become awakened to their gifts and their power to heal others. Become part of this ever-growing worldwide family of unique, pure energy healing practitioners. Discover how amazing you truly are. Go to www.markbayerski.com. It could just change your life forever.
Introducing the H2O app, a powerful water structuring application that programs vibrational energies into water through the use of different sound frequencies. Once programmed, the use of water for drinking, cooking, bathing. Give it to your friends and colleagues or spread it around the garden. The list goes on. It's not just water that the app can be used for either. It's great for programming crystals too. The H2O app is free to download and is available on both Android and Apple platforms. For further information, go to h2oapp.online.
Welcome back to the most listened to independent radio show in Europe. It's your Richie Allen Show.
Yes, and my crony there on the west of Ireland, my crony, my confidant, Jean Ann Crowley, mentions, and she's right, this madness, this lunacy described by Jonathan there about going after people for copyright infractions because they shared something from a website maybe belonging to a newspaper. Jean Ann says, shortly to be followed by a social credit system as has recently begun in China. That great episode in Black Mirror, which is on Netflix, deals with that issue. It's very scary, says Jean Ann. It is very scary. Hardly anyone is getting, she says, that the net is being pulled tighter and tighter even. The boiling frog comes to mind. And she's right, and there's no opposition to it in commercial media or national media. None whatsoever. 28 minutes past the hour. Faisal has dropped me a line. Faisal is well known to me. He's been on with me before. Just before Faisal says hello, just before he says hello, let me just remind you, it's 0161 818 2018 and it's Chat with Richie. If you're in the UK, 0161 818 2018. If you try and call me and don't get through, I'll call you back, or just wait till I finish with the caller and we'll get you on. Hey Faisal, welcome. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Not too shabby at all. The good weather is gone, but other than that, I can't complain. How are you?
Jolly good. Fine myself.
Yes.
Just wanted to. I always like trying to look at the bright side of the dismal things that are going on.
Yeah.
And just to say that for quite a while, I found it quite dismal how much people were brainwashed by the stuff that was going on in the media. I kind of have some family and friends who are in the establishment to one extent or another. But I think more recently that's been breaking a bit. The Livingston thing about the anti-Semitism, I think very few people are swallowing that. I've been quite surprised that actually a lot of people who I would normally say were quite brainwashed have really had a hard time swallowing that, and as far as I can see, just don't see it at all.
So it's like the system overplaying its hand in certain issues.
I think the system is really overplaying its hand. I can't help thinking there's some kind of panic behind it, that something's going wrong, whether it's the economy, whether it's stuff on a military front. But they do seem to be overdoing it from what I can see.
That's really fascinating, that. Yeah, amid all the doom and gloom.
Yeah, because a while ago, the Skripals, I was surprised to see how many people were swallowing the government line on the Skripals, because of course it was very insistent, and you'd really have to. It takes quite a jump to some extent to see that. Well, what if the government was lying about all that? I think people just couldn't handle that, even though it was a weird story. They did seem to be swallowing it, but. Then more recently, I think I was also asking about the Russian kind of hacking on Brexit and the Russians interfering on Brexit, and really nobody believes that either. Again, even if they did believe the Skripal thing. So I do think there's some cause for optimism there in terms of people waking up, even some of the more severely brainwashed.
It's great you brought up the Skripal story. You see, I'm jaded. Sometimes I'm jaded. I'm not jaded when I'm working, but outside work, I'm a bit jaded. You know, I have a bit of a downer on people.
That's
to be
easily
honest,
done, yeah.
It is. You know, and I thought that they'd even swallow the Skripal thing. I mean, I looked at the Skripal thing and I thought, come on. And then I went, well, look, what do you expect they swallow? But they haven't swallowed it. I've actually heard conversations. I've overheard people who I have no connection to talking about it and kind of laughing and saying, what will they expect us to believe next? And I'm thinking, well, that's a start. What are you now going to do with that information? Let me ask you, what did you think of that story coming out of Ukraine? That's just...
Well, this is it. I can just hear people who were swallowing the Skripal things just happen to give up the ghost on that.
What a crazy... Let's just remind our listeners, just in case they're tuning in late. There's a Russian journalist called Arkady Babchenko. It was announced yesterday that he'd been shot dead. He's a Russian journalist, but he's been very critical of the Kremlin in his career. That's his own business, fair enough. So yesterday it was reported widely that this guy was assassinated, and of course they couldn't wait to jump in and blame the Russians. But today he turned up at a press conference, hale and hearty, full of life.
Yeah, I only just found out about that on the show now.
Oh, it's mad.
that he'd actually turned up.
He turned up, and the Ukrainian authorities have said that they had known for some time now that the Russians wanted to kill him, and that this was part of some sting operation. They faked his death, and then they started listening to the intelligence channels to see could they pick something up. Do you know what I think? You know, and you won't be surprised, Faisal. I just think horse shit. That's what it is. It's just a horse shit story. But I don't know what the real story is.
Any amount of looking into that at all just has to leave someone bewildered. I mean, there's no way that can now sort of make sense of somehow any credibility against the accusations against the Russians.
No, but here, let me ask you this. Good to be chatting to you again. It's been ages.
Indeed.
I give Faisal and people, I give them lots of shit during the call-ins. Because they've called in before, I tell them, don't call in, let's get some new callers. And it generally works, but they're not permanently barred. It's good to have them back. Right, so brilliant call from Jonathan a minute ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What are people going to do about that? I tell you what, Faisal, because I'll give you a laugh, Faisal. My Wi-Fi password is known to some of my neighbours. I got an email a couple of weeks back from my provider telling me that they wouldn't be sharing any of my information, but gave me a friendly warning about downloading stuff from illegal websites. And I just emailed them back. The second word was off, right? That's the truth, right? Couldn't care less. But imagine, Faisal, you're going to be fine now. Why is that? Well, you were chatting with somebody on Twitter the other day, and you went, well, here, I've got some evidence. And you shared a story from The Independent. Bang, that's copyright infringement. This is lunacy.
Yeah. I mean, I've been wondering when they'll start actually doing more through the copyright thing, because I've noticed that on YouTube anyway, that its copyright policy is incredibly suspect. I mean, just me uploading myself playing some Bach, which is totally, nobody can copyright that. I mean, Bach is hundreds of years old. It's incredibly obviously me. Not many people dress like me or look like me when they're playing the violin. And every time I whacked one of those up since about 2011, there was immediately a copyright claim on it, which of course is completely illegal. If you haven't watched the video, you can't put a copyright on something you haven't even looked at. And
can I ask you a question?
Of course, it just takes a month to get that back. Now, I don't advertise on my videos. I don't look for advertising because there's very few people that look at my videos. But still, in principle, if I was trying to make money from that would be about a month until they rule on it, where I wouldn't be able to make any money off it.
That's interesting, very interesting, because we're having more issues with YouTube, who, I'm not going to say it again, deleted their channel.
So just from my own experience, before I even started looking at conspiracy theories on the internet, I was already full into one myself, just innocently trying to upload a violin video.
Do you know how absolutely disgraceful this is? It's not that they... This is brilliant stuff. This is very important that people understand this. Again, kudos to Jonathan for bringing this up. It's not that they are worried about you not paying $1.50 for the Sunday Mail, the Mail on Sunday. They don't care about that. That's not what it is. What they don't want you doing is basically critiquing that content. This is why they want to bring in these bloody rules, because they don't want the likes of the people mentioned earlier on, David Icke and others, and content creators going...
And to some extent just to control the commentary, that the people who they don't want to comment on it, they can crack down on.
Yeah.
But then some people will miraculously get away with it. And then you have to wonder,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's the censorship on YouTube has come down to things like, I have a problem with mice here, and I was looking up videos for sort of good tips that worked for catching mice. And
there's
this guy, he really does some good videos. And then I saw he'd done a video on how he'd been cracked down on by YouTube and he'd actually been quite popular. Obviously been making some decent money off the advertising, and he just lost thousands every month because they cracked down on him. And like mousetrap videos, what on earth are they cracking down on that guy for? There's nothing political there. What on earth can that be? And I think to a lot of extent it's just independent people it's supposed to be a platform where really anybody can come on and make money if they do anything good. But in practice, I think they crack down a lot on anybody independent trying to make a success of anything these days.
No doubt about it, yeah. So many alternative news content creators have seen that with the demonetization or the deletion of
it's not
channels,
just news. It's things you wouldn't expect as well.
And that's a good point that you made there about those videos about dealing with the mice. I hadn't considered that, but that's kind of startling. I wonder how much of that is down to YouTube or Google, as it is, using artificial intelligence programs to kind of weed stuff out. I wonder. A lot of human decision making has been taken away from these decisions. I mean, I saw didn't I see but just before our channel was deleted, I put in an appeal on a strike over a video, and it came back very quickly that the appeal was rejected. In fact, it came back in a couple of seconds, and I knew that was an automated decision. There was no human involvement in that, and I thought, that's interesting now. And I wondered the chap who made the mice control videos. I wonder if it doesn't mean that it's any less.
He did a video on it, and he was saying that actually because he wasn't trying to talk badly too much of YouTube, because he had some personal guy who was actually helping him deal with this and helping him advise how to do his videos, so that it wasn't copyright strikes. It was just because some of his videos he'd actually put the traps in the barn and then video the mouse getting caught by them, and of course he'd be videoing a mouse dying, and then he'd get parental guideline strikes and stuff like that, even though they're not advertised for kids. They're just a functional thing. And he'd try to follow their rules, and then he'd still get strikes.
Quite bizarre.
That's a bizarre one.
Bizarre one. 21 minutes to the top of the hour. Faisal, have you got anything else you want to add quickly before I move on? I think there are one or two other calls in the system there.
Just one more little thing about also recently. I found I used to comment on other people's YouTube videos and post links to things, and I suddenly found a few days ago that I couldn't actually post the link. When I went to paste it, nothing would come up, and I thought, is there something wrong with my computer? I'd paste it into the search bar, and there it would come up, no problem. And then I looked through some of the places I was posting and noticed that very few other people were suddenly posting links. But I found absolutely nothing about it, not a statement from anybody saying, oh, YouTube has now changed its policy and it's stopping some people from posting links or whatever. I've heard absolutely nothing about this, but it seems to be a thing.
We've been kettled, my friend. You see, we're living our lives online, so we can be interfered with at any time of day or night. This is the problem. This is why I left Facebook. There is the Richie Allen page. It's confusing people. They think it's me, but I've got nothing to do with it. It's there. I just couldn't bear it anymore. The thoughts that, you put stuff out there, you have accrued a following through that channel, and they say, well, tough shit, Paddy, basically, following or not, we're going to make sure they don't see the stuff. So anyway, mate, great to hear from you again.
Okie doke. So that was it, really.
Cheers, Faisal. Great call, mate. Thanks for that. Good stuff.
Cheers.
That's anytime. That's my mate Faisal, who's been listening to the programme pretty much since it began, and joins in. Always got something interesting and thought-provoking to say. It must be said as well. 19 minutes to the top of the hour. You can, there's plenty I had calls coming in there, and those calls have died out there. So if you do want to get in touch with me before the end of the programme, do so through calling 01618182018. That's if you're in the UK. It's +44 1618182018 if in Europe or the rest of the world, basically, is it? Yeah, and then chat with Richie on Skype. It's chat with Richie on Skype. That is my Skype handle. Tell you what we'll do. This will annoy Simon now, my YouTube editor, but I'm going to do it anyway while we get a call on. Let's have a tune. Do you know we've not played one single tune in this programme? How cool is that? Not to keep people hanging on the line, let's say good evening to our latest caller. Caller, good evening. How are you?
Not too bad, Richie.
Who am I speaking with?
It's Dave Cole.
Ah, Dave, how are you? Nice to hear from you.
Not too bad.
Glad you got in, Dave. Glad you got in, my friend. Crack on. The floor is yours. What would you like to bring up?
Well, it's a total from left field, but I think you might be interested in the story. I suffer from something called Dupletrons contracture, which is also known as Viking hand.
Is known as what?
Viking hand.
Viking. I heard you say Viking, and I thought I've never heard of that. Viking hand, right? What is it?
It's actually something that is traced back to Viking ancestry. People in Ireland, and I have family from Ireland, on the west coast, wherever the Vikings landed, people get Dupletrons contracture or Viking hand. And what it is the guiders, the little kind of connections in your body shrivel. So your hand ends up closing in on itself. So the fingers can end up constantly, so you're gripping something.
Is it painful, Dave?
It was painful in my arm, in my forearm, and painful on my shoulder. It runs in the family. My mum suffers from it, and so anyway, I knew I'd got it. I knew that it was going to get worse and worse.
What's the treatment, Dave? I've actually brought up a link to a site that talks about it. It says steroid injections, which are not great, I suppose, and physical therapy. Is that what you do?
Well, the treatment for it, I went to my doctor. My doctor had a look. My doctor told me that it doesn't hurt, and I said it does, and she said it doesn't, and I said, it might not hurt in your book, but it hurts on my arm. And I know from family research. So what I was offered was an operation where they take you in, do a cut on the tendon, and what tends to happen is 2 or 3 years later, it's as bad as it ever was, twice as painful, and carries on. So knowing that it was getting bad, because it was like I was washing myself and I was poking my eye out, washing myself. So I went on the internet and had a look, and as my good my partner Heather would say, who works for NHS, David Icke kind of stuff that you've done. Looked on the internet, and it recommended a fluid. And the fluid I put on it is some kind of extract that is used in creosote, the stuff that they paint fences with.
Right, I don't, but I'm interested in this. So is it a natural product? No, it wouldn't be, would it?
It's a kind of chemical. I don't know how natural it is. But I got it. It's cost me £16 a bottle. A bottle lasts a very long time. I've got half a bottle, and I'm going back over a year. I just put it on with a cotton bud. Within 4 weeks, the pain had gone altogether. So where it was painful, the pain went. And then after about 6 or 7 weeks, my finger that was affected started straightening out.
And you could flex it. You could flex it. You could flex it, could you?
Yeah.
Right. Let's just go back 2 steps there. This product again. What's the active ingredient again?
Oh, now you're asking somebody whose eyesight is
all right.
bad.
Forget that then for a minute. What is it called again?
It's dimethyl. I'll actually put it on the. I'll actually send you a message with the actual name of it when I can get my glasses and have a look. It's dimethyl sulfate or something. It's just like a clear fluid that smells quite odd. And
it's had this profound effect. Now, this Viking hand, which is called, as you said, Dupuytren's contracture, or Dupuytren's contracture, however you pronounce it, that looks like it's related to a number of other things, like things that might be related to arthritic conditions. Would I be right in saying that?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I know that a few weeks ago, my mum actually looked as though she'd had a stroke, and that was through the duplitrons. So I think it's something that gets worse. It can affect various parts of your body. It seems to affect in men. It affects your hands. It starts off with like little lumps in your hand, and it can affect your penis. In fact, luckily, that hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened to you, yeah. But it might for other people, which of course it might
for other people.
Wouldn't be pleasant. Wouldn't be pleasant at all. Yeah. So this.
I have had the lumps on my. This is on my left hand. I've had the lumps on my right hand, but I've put the fluid on, and the lumps have actually gone.
That's amazing. So it's like a miracle cure. This.
Well, yeah. I mean, it has been for me.
It has been for you,
yeah. Richie, yeah.
Now, because I'm looking at this Viking hand. How common is that? I mean, how many? Oh, look at this! I've got the statistics here. Would you believe it? It's fairly common.
Yeah.
20% of people over 65 have some form of it. So that's 1 in 5 people over 65. Holy shite! That is a lot of people, isn't it? And
I think obviously the younger you get it. My mum got it at 60. I got it when I was 45.
How is your mum now? How is your mum?
My mum's 76.
No, I didn't mean how old is she. How is she now? You said that she's been unwell. She's had a stroke. How is she?
Well, I mean, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we actually thought that she'd had a stroke. All the side went limp while she was doing the washing. And that was actually due to duplitrons. But, she's gone in. I mean, she doesn't have anything to do with this crazy kind of stuff that we that we might try, Richie. She's a doctor. Whatever the doctor says kind of goes.
Well, yeah.
But, it has improved. It has improved for her, and with some exercise.
Well, if one in, but I'm glad that she's improved with some exercise. I'm glad she didn't have a stroke, by the way. I mean, if 1 in 5 people over 65 have this in some form or another, they'll be very interested in learning about the hugely positive reaction you've had by using this fluid that you said is some sort of compound that's used on fences.
Well, not the compound. It's something that's comes out of creosote or I mean, it's nothing like creosote. It's just like a clear liquid. Creosote is like a smelly, brown, oily thing you put on.
And where would you get this stuff, Dave?
Well, I got it on the internet. I got it from YouTube. Not YouTube.
eBay or something,
eBay.
was it? Right,
eBay,
okay, yeah.
Right, yeah. I just looked it up, put Viking hand in, look what people were saying, and bought something and thought,
nothing to lose. I might as well give it a go.
Exactly. I've got nothing to lose. I knew that if I went in and had the operation, that after 2 years, the experience of people that I know is that it just comes back. So I thought, well, I've nothing to lose. I'll give it a go. If it don't work, I'll go back to my doctor. It's as simple as that, Richard.
I'm typing away there because people are asking me about this. I don't know what to tell people, so you're going to have to find a way of sending me some more information about this stuff. You can email me.
I'll just send I'll send you the name of it.
Do, Dave, will you? And we'll put it out there because this is really interesting. Because, again, I know listening to you, obviously it's interesting what you're telling me, but it's even more interesting to learn that there's a good chance if you if you live into your 60s or 70s that you might get this. And as it's telling me here, as you've described, it's sore, it's debilitating, it's not a nice condition to actually have. Of course it isn't, because I don't think there's anything more important on your body than your hands, your legs. People might say, exactly, but your hands.
You can't grip. I literally put off going to the doctor. I'd put off until I was poking my eye. I was like washing. I kept poking my eye because my finger was bent over. And my partner just said to me, "You've got to go. Something's got to be done. You can't just leave it. Something's got to be done." I mean, now, I'm not saying my hand it's not 100%, but from being 70%, it's 90. From if it was 60% or 50%,
it must be 90%. It must be some relief. That I can't imagine it. Dave, we're just out of time. I've got to get out before I run out of time here. That's very interesting. That what I call that is at the end of the program. Again, I'd never heard of the condition. Maybe I should have, covering as much as I've covered over the years, but it's a common condition. It's very common here and in the US. 20% of people over 65, and Dave has been describing there what has given him more than great relief, given him the use of his hands back. Get us that info, Dave, and I'll put it out there. He's just hung up actually, or else his battery has run out or something. Right, that's it for today's program. Thanks to everybody who called in, by the way. Thanks for listening to the show. Simon, thank you so much for looking after the YouTube channel. Thanks to Jean Ann there in the west of Ireland for her comments and her research during the program. We'll be back again tomorrow. No idea what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, but I will be lining up some interesting guests over the next 12 hours to bring to you tomorrow on the show. You can follow the program all the time, by the way, what's happening with it, on my website, richieallen.co.uk. This is the reason why I moved away from Facebook. It's the reason I've been banging on about Facebook for years, about how it's become the internet, how it's colonised and basically taken over, privatised the internet, for want of a better word. I don't use it. I will never use it again. I'll be posting things to my website, articles and programs. All the programs are on there, links to the YouTube videos and all of that. And I will eventually be coming off Twitter as well. Now, that scares people. Does it scare people? What do I mean by that? It worries some of our listeners who think, we won't be able to communicate with you during the program. You will, because I will eventually have the email set up sorted, and I'll have a kind of a messenger thing sorted where you'll be able to send me basically instant messages or instant communications, and I'll be able to read them out as I get them. But I want to come off Twitter as well in the long term. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term there.